Are you ready? Are you ready? I don't think you're ready. Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. If you guys are new here, welcome. Today we're gonna do Patricta's newest release, which is the Major Dimension Volume 2 palette. Oh my god, I'm so excited. So excited about this. I majorly am duping this palette only for me, just because I really badly want it. It's just that I am waiting for a sale to happen so that I can pick it up. I am not a VIB or a Rouge, so if I can snag this palette for a greater discount, I would highly love that. So I'll try and contain myself for Black Friday so that I can wait till that. But I exactly knew why I love this palette. You guys know I love my mauves and those cool toned pinky browns, and that's all this palette is all about. And when I started duping this palette with the palette that I had in my collection, guys, I now know why do I like this palette even more, just because it is duping two of my favorite palettes. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's begin. So let me quickly tell you a little about the palette. It's a daily wardrobe of rose-toned neutral shades that will become your daily go-to palette. A mix of warm, cool and neutral matte, satin and pearlescent shades with two cream bases that create perfect rich canvas for your shadows. This palette is definitely drool worthy. I absolutely love the color story. I know it's nothing unique. I know I have these shades in my collection with so many palettes that I have, and I am restricting myself to buy any palettes that is not unique in my collection. So far, I've been really good at that. This palette, it's definitely challenging me. I held off with that Heather Austin palette so badly. I know my pains, guys. I really know. But this palette, oh my god, this is okay, crazy. This is retailed at $68. So we are touching Natasha Denona's midi eyeshadow palette price range. So it's definitely not a price range which is like cheap or drugstore by any means. It's high-end luxury price range. So keep that in mind. It is vegan, cruelty-free, and it is gluten-free. So that is really nice. So let's begin duping these shadows. First of all, I'm not duping any cream shades, okay? The cream bases that is in the palette, I don't know if I can dupe or not. I don't play with like those creamy bases, especially those colored bases on my eyelids. So I don't know how much I can dupe that. But the two shades that completely came into my mind when I saw those two bases are the blushes from Tower 28. One in the shade Magic Hour and the other one in the shade Power Hour. This exactly dupes those shades. I don't know if you can wear these blushes on your eyelids or not, but the tones are extremely similar. So let me just swatch both of these for you. So the Magic Hour shade would be duping the shade Loyal from the palette. The lighter cream toned shade from the palette. Oh my god, can you see it? Can you see it? And this is defined as a rosy beige cream shade, and that's exactly what this shade is. So I definitely wanted to give you an option. The second one is more of a rosy chocolatey brown cream shade, which is being duped by the blush, which is called Power Hour. And this is how that looks. Oh my god, look at that. Are you kidding me? That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. I'm so excited. So excited. The eye look that you're seeing on my eyes today is basically duped by the shades that I'm gonna talk about in this video. I have not used these blushes on my eyes, but off screen I am going to use these blushes just to see whether it does crease or not. I know this is more of a clean brand, the Tower 28 brand. So let me see if we can use that as a base or not. I have never used a cream blush on my eyes, but if it doesn't crease and if it works as a base, then why not? My aim tomorrow before going to office would be using this as a base and then toppering it with one of the topper shadows that I'm going to talk about today. So yes, we'll see. I'll update it on the screen if it does wear or not, or if it creases. I will definitely keep you guys informed. Now, let's move on to the shimmers of the palette. I cannot wait. Can you even feel the excitement? I don't think you're ready. Okay, the second shade in the top row is called Affair. Now this is defined as a metallic purple with pink reflex in it. I don't know how much of a metallic purple it is, but let me just give you a disclaimer. If you do have the Too Faced Born This Way Natural Nudes palette, you will get a similar vibe of the Patrick Ta palette from this palette. I mean, you definitely can. Amongst the mattes, you can see this shade, this pink shade, this mid-tone mauve shade, this cocoa shade, which is like a mixture of that pink and the brown shade, and this deep brown is already there. The only shade that is missing, I would say, is that orangey brown shade. So I'm not going to talk more about this palette. Even the shimmers, I would say, it has that rose gold shade. The first shade, the Affair shade that we are going to talk about is basically duped by this shade, which is called Sparkling Rum. But also, who remembers this? If you do have Dose of Colors Friendcation palette, the shade that is called Try Me is basically the dupe of that shade with the same kind of texture. I'm going to go as much close to the texture and the shade as I can. So I'm going to swatch this shade. Also, if you guys do have Pretties for Your Face Scorched, it looks very, very similar to the description. I know that you guys see a lot of purple, but I personally see a lot of burgundy purple with like pink reflex. But yes, I am basically gonna swatch the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette just because I feel that is the closest that we can get to that shade. So let me swatch that here. I love that. Are you kidding me? I love it. Can you even see it? I cannot, guys. I really cannot. This is stunning. And this is defined as a metallic purple with pink reflex. And this is duped by the shade called Try Me from the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. Am I right or am I right? Oh my God, I cannot, guys. I really cannot. Okay. Now the third shade in the palette is called Desire, and this is defined as a warm rose with gold pearl. Now, when I saw people like swatching this shadow, even on Patrick Ta's website, it looks more of like a toppery orange shade. And that I think is very, very close to this JD Glow shadow, which is called Bestie. Now, again, this is more of that rosy orange shade, but it has like that gold pearl embedded in it. So I personally feel that this is like the closest that I can get from the shadows that I have in my collection. So I'm going to dupe this with the shade called Bestie from JD Glow. And I personally feel even this like texture is very, very similar. This might have a little more base to it rather than the toppery shimmeriness of the Patrick Ta's eyeshadow. But although this is also super, super shimmery. Love it. Absolutely love it. I'll give you a close-up at the end. I don't know if you guys can see that rose coming through or not, but I definitely can see that rose to an orange flip. I love it, guys. I just love it. Okay, let's move on. The next shade is called Lust, and this is defined as an iridescent pink pearl topper shade. Now, whenever I saw that shade, it is basically a pink to a gold duochrome that is coming through in every swatch video that I have seen. And I am going to dupe that shade with the shade from the Flare Collection Remix palette from It's Belle Cosmetics, and the shade is called Morganite. And you can see that gold to a pink duochrome coming through. I think that you cannot go wrong with this shade anytime. Also, a close dupe also would be Social Butterfly from Luxie, and I have done a dedicated video on Luxie Beauty eyeshadows. I'll link it in the iCards above for you guys to check it out. But I felt like if you do have this palette, you definitely can achieve that same effect. Now you can see, can you see that gold to pink coming through? It is a beautiful duochrome and a very shimmery eyeshadow. On the eyelid, it is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of the eyeshadow that I have on my lid today, and you can see how shimmery it is. Like, I love it. Again, that is the shade Morganite from It's Belle Cosmetics Flare Collection Remixed palette. The next shade in the palette is called Romance, and this is a multicolored tone pink pearl topper shade. Now this is in true sense a rose gold shade, and this can be duped by the shade which is from Rose Gold from the Too Faced Natural Nudes palette. You can see this shade. Also, if you guys do have the Oden's Eye Judy palette, the Red Dragon palette, a very similar shade to that is this shade, which is called Overheat. So I'm gonna swatch this because this palette does have quite a few mattes also, which I'm super excited about. Okay, so this is the shade Overheat, which is duping the shade called Romance from the Patrick palette. Now you can see that difference coming through. It is so pretty, and this is more of a pink to a gold topper, and this is a true rose gold, I would say. So very pretty. Love it. Now let's move on to the final shade of the palette, and that is called Adore, and this is defined as a metallic warm champagne shade. As soon as I saw that shade, I exactly know that this is duped by the shade called Just a Kiss from Dose of Color's Friendcation palette. Do you guys remember this shade? If you do not, I'll show you. I'll just show you. Oh my God, this is so crazy. I cannot. I'm so happy that this palette is live, and I'm so happy that this is not a limited edition palette, because you know Dose of Color's Friendcation palette is like one of my favorite palettes that is ever being created. And look at that shade. I don't even know if you guys can see it or not, but this is so sparkly, so amazing on the eyes. I cannot even tell you. It gives such a wet effect on your eyes. It is truly spectacular, and this is more of that champagne shade. Now, because my palette is definitely a little older, so you might not even see that glimmer that is happening, but on the eyes it is stunning. I have this shade also on my eyes today, mainly on the inner corners, and I feel Patric's formula dupes the Dose of Color's Friendcation palette's shimmers in a true sense. I really feel that way when I see those like shimmering, glimmering effect on the eyes. That's exactly how Dose of Color's Friendcation palette used to look. So I'm so happy. Now, this is how all the shimmers are looking so far. Now, let's move on to the mattes. So the second shade in the bottom row is called Heartache, and this is defined as a deep, dark brown matte shade. Now, this has been duped by the shade from Sydney Grace, and this is called Choco Raspberry Fudge. I have actually shown this particular shadow so many times on my channel. Even in my custom spring palette that I did on my channel, I have featured this shadow as well as another shadow that I'm going to talk about from Sydney Grace. And these are like my top shadows from Sydney Grace. Now, let's say if you do not have this Sydney Grace eyeshadow in particular, and you don't want to buy these two single shadows from Sydney Grace, and if you do have the Judy's palette, which is the Red Dragon palette, I'll say you will definitely get very close to this shade by mixing two shadows, and that would be Claw and Fire together. So can you see that Claw? Claw is more of a cool tone brown shade, and Fire more has that burgundiness in it. If you mix those two shades, you can achieve a very similar eyeshadow to that Choco Raspberry Fudge. So I am very excited about that. Okay, the next shade in the palette is called Passion, and this is defined as a plum brown matte shade, and this is an exact dupe to the Oden's Eye Red Dragons palette, and the shade name is called Yin. I knew when I saw the swatch that this is the exact shade. Oh my God. I'm so happy that I have this palette. I'm so happy. I cannot even. I love it. So I'm going to swatch that shade here. Look at that. And that is the shade Yin from Oden's Eye palette, which dupes the shade called Passion from the Patrick palette. Love it. Now the next shade in the palette is called Devotion, and this is defined as a cool mauve matte shade, and this has been duped by the other Sydney Grace shadow that I was talking about, and this is called Adore Me. Oh my god, this is so beautiful. True sense, it's cool and neutral at the same time. It's a very unique shade. I absolutely love that shade. And that's the shade Adore Me from Sydney Grace. Love it. So pretty. So very pretty. Love it. Now the next shade in the palette is called Amore, and this is defined as a pink beige matte, which is duped by the shade called Serene from Red Dragon palette again. Oh my god, I cannot, guys. I really cannot. I love these shades. I really do. Judy did such a beautiful job of creating this palette even before Patrick knew it. Love it. Absolutely love it. And on my skin tone, it might not even look like a rosy beige. It truly is. Because I am more of a tan undertone, it would look a little more on the peachy rosy side. But you can see that. Love it. I'll give you a close-up in the outside lighting so that you can see everything. So pretty. Again, that was the shade which is called Amore, which is a pink beige matte, which is duped by the shade called Serene from the Red Dragon palette from Oden's Eye. Now, finally, the last shade of the palette is called Crush, and this is a pale pink matte shade, which is duped by the shade called Seashell from the palette. I mean, it is a light, a very pale pink shade. And yeah, this basically would help to blend out any shade from the palette. So let me swatch this here, and if you can see it or not. Okay, there you go. And that is duping the shade called Crush from the Patrick palette. So that is how the entire palette, how it looks. Take a screenshot, compare it with the other palette. I'll pop a palette picture on the screen for you guys so that you can see it. Now let me give you a close-up of all the shades swatched together. And I'll give you a close-up in the outside lighting too, how all these swatches look. Absolutely beautiful. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I had a blast duping this palette for you guys. And now if you're interested to see how I achieve this eye look, then please keep on watching. Now let me give you a close-up of this eye look. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I am by no means saying not to buy the palette by any means. If you are interested and you love these rosy, beigey, brown shades in your collection, I am pretty sure that everybody is going nuts over this palette, and I am too. I'm just gonna wait for a sale for sure before I dive into that palette, because it's a very expensive palette, at least for me, in my opinion. So if you did like this video, do give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.